to introduce our final political keynote speaker. Let's go once again to Third Vice President Scott Pierce.
Well, thank you, Catherine. Merci, Catherine. Jusqu'à maintenant, depuis le début du Congrès, nous avons eu la chance d'entendre le Premier ministre, le chef de l'opposition officielle et le chef du nouveau Parti démocratique du Canada nous partager leur vision de la relance. Collaborer avec tous les partis fédéraux fait partie intégrante de l'approche de l'FCM, comme de celle de notre Congrès. Et ce n'est pas fini. Comme Catherine l'a expliqué, nous recevons notre dernier invité politique qui fait sa toute première apparition au Congrès annuel de l'FCM. Annamie Paul was elected leader of the Green Party of Canada last October, and she comes to that role from a fascinating background as a lawyer and advocate. She's done everything from advising the International Criminal Court to founding a charity to train women and underrepresented groups to run for office. When Annamie Paul addressed FCM's board last November's Advocacy Days event, she brought a strong message on the need for a post-COVID recovery that's green, of course, but also inclusive to less privileged Canadians. She also spoke of grounding that recovery in our communities, in the places where Canadians live, work, and raise their families. C'est certainement un sujet qui intéresse ce groupe. Et j'ai hâte de l'approfondir ici avec vous. Alors, je commence par souhaiter la bienvenue à notre invité et je reviendrai un peu plus tard pour notre échange. Sans plus attendre, je suis heureux de vous présenter le chef du Parti vert du Canada. Friends, please welcome the leader of the Green Party of Canada, Annamie Paul. Your mic.
I'm muted. We're never, years into this and we're never going to get that right.
We've all done it.
Yeah, I know. Bonjour tout le monde. Hello everyone. Et merci beaucoup pour cette introduction et cette bienvenue tellement chaleureuse. Thank you so much for the welcome. It is such a pleasure to be with you. And congratulations on the celebration of your Congress. Félicitations sur la célébration du Congrès. C'est un énorme plaisir d'être avec vous. Je suis ici, en fait, pas sur les territoires que j'habite habituellement. C'est la première fois que dès mon élection comme chef du Parti vert que j'ai eu l'opportunité de sortir de l'Ontario. Je suis au Québec. Je suis à Montréal. Il y a un vista derrière moi là. Et c'est vraiment un plaisir d'être là sur le terrain avec les gens dans une de nos grands et belles villes ici. Ce sont les territoires traditionnels des Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat, Abenaki, et Anishinaabe. These are the traditional territories of the Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat, Abenaki, and Anishinaabe. And it is really always such a pleasure to speak with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities because I don't think it's any overestimation rather to say that you are a great friend to our party. We hope to be a great friend to you. Your policies make it actually very difficult for me to find anything original to say. We are so aligned in our vision of what a green future could look like, what green municipalities could look like, what a green recovery can look like. And we are excited to work with you on that vision. I love the theme of this year's Congress, Forward. It really, again, it's a different way of what I have been saying for some time and what we've been saying. Our slogan lately has been Be Daring. And it's really the same kind of idea, which is that this is a moment that we have been through so much. So much has been sacrificed. So much has been lost for so many of us. But at the same time, we have been resilient. We have adapted. We have learned. We have supported each other, and it is so inspirational. And when I think of that, I think that we have everything that it takes to go forward, and that there is no way to go but forward, and that we're ready to do that together. Alors oui, c'est vraiment le moment d'aller en devant, ensemble, nous pouvons le faire. Nous avons démontré que nous avons tout ce qu'il faut, que les personnes sont généreuses, qu'ils veulent le faire. Et à mon avis, c'est les municipalités et la Fédération des municipalités qui doivent être à le centre de ça. So what are some of the things that we need? And again, I'm so sorry for sounding like a broken record or repeating things that you've heard already. But you know, when you've got it, you've got it. And the Federation absolutely has got it right on these things. This is the moment where we can say to ourselves, we are going to do the unfinished work of completing our social safety nets, because we understand that the absence of completing that net had left too many people and continues to leave too many people behind, too many people falling through the cracks in a ways that we have decided are unacceptable and we know we can do something about. So in terms of acknowledging that we have an affordable housing crisis, acknowledging that we have a homelessness crisis, acknowledging that even before the pandemic and certainly as we emerge from it, we are going to have significant mental health needs, acknowledging that despite all of the social programs and benefits that have been designed, there are still people who at this very moment don't have the help that they need. And we do need to solve that. And we believe that we need to solve that through a guaranteed livable income. Also, this ambition that we have for a green recovery. So, you know, at the national and international scale, we know some of the things that can be done, but really we know that municipalities, whether it's urban centers or rural, that municipalities have got to be one of the biggest players in the room in designing that. Why? Because we know that that is where people live, and that is where much of our greenhouse gas emissions are also generated as well. So it's going to be where solutions happen, where innovation happens, where people get mobilized around a green recovery. And so some of the key elements, and it's not an exclusive list, a comprehensive list, are transport. Alors le transport, assurer que nos résidents, que nos édifices soit le plus vert pour nous faire les investissements dans l'énergie renouvelable aussi. Tout ça fait partie d'un projet d'une relance verte qui est absolument nécessaire. Et comme je dis, ça doit être les municipalités urbains et rurales qui sont. So what is needed for that? And again, we'll keep saying it until it gets done. So what is needed for that? First, municipalities need stability, they need certainty, and they need a recognition of the critical role that they play in people's lives. Certainly during this pandemic, it has been very clear that the first level of government that people look to for help, for security, for a plan was the municipal level of government. It is the one that is closest to the people, most in tune with the needs of the people, and is most able to be responsive to the needs of the people if it has the support to do that. So if the municipal level of government is given the stability and certainty that it needs to plan, I know just on the basis of the plan you have proposed and on the basis of what I see in my own municipality, that it is the level of government that would be most capable of responding in real time to the needs of people. And so we need to start thinking about how can we redesign our relationships between levels of government in order to make sure municipalities have what they need. Il y a des problèmes structurels qui doit être réglé si on veut assurer que les municipalités ont le soutien, ont la stabilité nécessaire pour vraiment lancer des projets de moyen et long terme. Nous avons créé notre relation dans un moment où 20% des gens vivaient dans les centres urbains et 80% vivaient hors des centres urbains. Maintenant, c'est l'inverse, mais nous n'avons pas changé notre arrangement. Il faut le changer. We have said that we support considering charter cities. We have said that we support creating a permanent body where municipalities can come together with the provincial and federal levels of government on a regular basis to consider issues of common concern and come up with joint plans together, because we know that the conversation that's happening needs to be a permanent one. Alors, je veux assurer que je laisse suffisamment de temps pour des questions. Oh, il y a de la musique maintenant sur sur la colline. Oh, bon, c'est ça la ville. Non, c'est ça non, l'expérience d'être en ville. Alors, je vais laisser du temps pour la conversation et l'échange. Mais je veux souligner que nous sommes ici pour être des partenaires. Nous sommes ici pour amplifier vos messages auprès du gouvernement. Nous sommes ici pour assurer que vous avez les ressources dont vous avez besoin pour faire votre travail. Et nous soutenons absolument votre vision pour une relance verte. Nous pouvons le faire ensemble. Nous avons tout ce qu'il faut. Je sais que les gens au Canada, les gens dans nos municipalités veulent voir un plan ambitieux. I was just joking that every once in a while you get so excited and you flail your arms enough, you just break the internet. So thank you for having me back. And we're going to jump right into the questions right now. So over to you.
Well, thanks, Annamie. Thank you very much. I think we're all touched that you realize how local governments, municipal officials are the closest people to our citizens. I think that means a lot to all of us. I know my residents and my community all have my cell phone number, and trust me, they use it. So we get to hear on the ground what's happening. It's great to see you again, and for everyone here to meet with you. It's such an important moment in the country. Nous voyons que l'inclusion, c'est un sujet qui vous tient à cœur et que vous êtes fermement engagé à ce que cela soit un élément porteur dans la relance à l'après-pandémie. Une relance inclusive est également une priorité pour les municipalités et l'FCM. C'est pourquoi nous travaillons fort pour accroître l'offre de logements abordables. Un logement décent fait partie des éléments de base pour pouvoir s'épanouir. Réaliser des progrès locaux dans le secteur du logement dépend d'un solide partenariat fédéral municipal. Ottawa nous soutient grâce à des ressources et nous apportons nos expertises locales et notre capacité à produire des résultats concrets sur le terrain. Alors, ma première question pour vous, quand vous parlez d'une relance inclusive, quelles sont selon vous les occasions les plus importantes de collaboration entre le fédéral et le municipal, que ce soit logement ou d'autres?
Oui, merci pour la question et avant de répondre ou peut-être comme partie de ma réponse, je voulais dire que il faut reconnaître aujourd'hui la découverte à Kamloops et à la pensionnat autochtone. Parce que si on parle de créer une société juste, une société inclusive, il n'y a pas de moyen de le faire sans la réconciliation, sans faire le travail vers la réconciliation. Bon, moi, j'ai hâte de lire le plan d'action qui va être introduit, présenté aujourd'hui par le gouvernement en réponse à le rapport sur les femmes et filles disparues et assassinées. Alors moi, je promets de ma part et de la part de notre parti de toujours faire le travail vers la réconciliation, vers l'inclusivité et démonter les systèmes de discrimination partout au pays. Dans le cas de comment les différents niveaux de gouvernement collaborer, ils doivent collaborer sur tous les enjeux. Parce que, comme je dis, même si on parle de le logement, si on parle l'accès aux services, si on parle de santé, sur tous les thèmes, si on parle de nos centres de soins de longue durée, je peux continuer. Les municipalités ont part à jouer dans tout ça. Et on sait qu'on va créer des meilleures politiques si le niveau du gouvernement qui est plus en connexion avec ces programmes est là dès le début et qu'ils reçoivent le versement des fonds dont ils ont besoin pour vraiment soutenir ces services. Alors moi, si on parle de logement abordable, par exemple, ça devrait être dirigé par l'expérience de nos municipalités. Et je sais que les communautés, mon communauté par exemple, a créé sa propre plan pour le logement abordable. Alors, si on peut transmettre ces messages, et pas que de les transmettre, mais d'assurer que les municipalités soient participants dans la création des politiques sur ce thème, je sais qu'ils seront plus durables et qu'ils correspondraient mieux aux besoins des gens dans la communauté.
Well, thank you very much. Building from that into a different dimension of an inclusive recovery, I come from a rural community in Quebec, the township of Gore. It's about 80 kilometers straight north of where you stand. Many of us in the room here represent rural communities, and I can tell you we're resourceful people, and we're working hard through FCM to move rural priorities up the federal agenda. We've seen some real progress. Major broadband funding, the first ever rural transit fund, investment in rural climate adaptation projects. These are very strong steps, but we're determined to continue moving forward. So my question is this: what is your vision for unlocking the incredible potential of our rural communities, starting with the post-COVID recovery phase?
Oh, I love that question, and I have so much ambition in this regard. I think part of it traces back to my family's own history as rural people. You know, I mean, my mom and my dad, my whole family came to the big city, but all came from tiny rural communities. And so, you know, making sure that they have not just you know, that they survive, but that rural communities can thrive is so important to me. And it's actually something that even during the leadership race, my team, we put out a policy on rural revitalization. And since we have, since becoming leader of the party, one of the shadow cabinet critic roles that we designed was one just on rural revitalization. So this is really a priority for us, and I see so much possibility there. Some of the key elements, one, transportation. And it was really disappointing to see Greyhound services terminate their service, not because necessarily it was Greyhound, but because it means there's a huge gap now. So isn't this a time for us to imagine what interconnected, publicly funded rural transportation could look like? We need to make sure, of course, that there's excellent broadband everywhere as a matter of urgency, as an essential service that is needed to attract businesses, to retain young people. It's something that is urgent. We want to see the work that has been done during the pandemic on the provision of services remotely through the internet, like telemedicine, for instance, remote learning, remote healthcare being reinforced and supported so that, again, people can continue to live and to work in rural communities. We want to make sure, again, that rural municipalities have the investments that they need so that they can improve their infrastructure and their services as well. And, you know, again, we are one of the few countries, wealthy countries in the world where we ask municipalities to do so much with so little. And so we have got to recognize that if we are going to make sure that we have the infrastructure and services in rural areas so that we can attract immigrants to rural areas, so that we can retain our young people in rural areas, so that we can attract new businesses and diversify economies in rural areas, then municipalities need to have the stable, certain funding that they need in order to make sure that that happens.
Well, thanks again. And I know we only have a few minutes left, so I'll end with a question that we've put to every national leader that we've hosted at this FCM conference. The federal municipal partnership has been critical in this pandemic, from delivering frontline services in crisis, delivering housing to people facing homelessness. This experience has once again shown that we do well when we work together more directly with clear shared objectives. We see that in the success of the Rapid Housing Initiative. It's the founding principle of the Gas Tax Fund, now the Canada Community Building Fund. So my last question is this: how should the federal government evolve how it works with other orders of government to really unlock the practical frontline expertise of local governments?
Well, I touched on that in we're so in sync that I can even anticipate and read your mind ahead of your question. We really need to first acknowledge where we are now. Acknowledge, as I said, that the municipal level of government is closest to the people. It is the one that best understands the needs of the community. It is the one, I hear clearly over and over again from people in my municipality that they want more decision making to revert to the local level of government. It allows them to feel more enfranchised, more engaged, to feel that they have some control, some agency over the decisions that are made in their community. And so, let's explore all the options. I know that there are many that are worried about anything that touches upon constitutional arrangements, but even beyond the Constitution, there are charter cities. There is the Council of Canadian Governments that we proposed back in 2019, and it's a model that is being used very successfully in other countries. There are so many ways that we can recognize and create permanent access to the knowledge that municipal governments have, so that it can go into policy. But it's not just about tapping into that knowledge base to create policies at other orders of government that then still get imposed back on the municipal level. This is really about saying, you know what, it's time for us to redistribute the power, because we're all here to serve the same people. And if it makes more sense for the municipalities to be leading this, to be designing this, then they should have the support and the funding to do that. And I am completely supportive of that. Our party is, exactly because, as I said, we are there for the people, and whatever helps us to serve the people best and get them the help and supports that they need, that's really should be the starting point for any discussion between levels of government.
Well, thank you. I'll repeat what we always say in Quebec. Municipalities, local governments are the governments of proximity. So right. Thank you so much. And you've given us a lot to think about. We look forward to continuing our dialogue on the road ahead. Et merci à tous d'avoir participé à cette séance. Ça a été remarquable de pouvoir accueillir 4 chefs de partis fédéraux sur la scène virtuelle de notre congrès annuel, et aussi très inclusif. À bien des égards, la FCM est la force non partisane par excellence. En plus de les respecter tous les partis politiques, nous collaborons avec ceux qui veulent travailler avec nous pour faire avancer notre collectivité. So thanks again to Annamie Paul. I'll throw it back to our wonderful MC, Catherine Clark. Thank you, Annamie. See you soon.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your congrès. Merci beaucoup.